okay with that.
Good evening. I call this workshop session to order. For my report, I just have two things to relate to the board and to the people, of course. First of all, I had a conversation with a representative, phone conversation, with a representative from a company called CGI Communications, which is out of Rochester. I apologize, I was running. It's out of Rochester. What they do is they produce small videos that are promotional videos of small to medium-sized municipalities and school boards and everything else. They start with the idea of cooperation between municipalities, non-for-profit organizations, businesses, profit organizations, and how they can help each other. So what they propose is some small videos that will be introducing the village and some aspects of life in the village. And I will send you some examples over the last, tomorrow probably. What they are, they're like a welcome by probably the mayor, not necessarily, but probably. And then there is another video, downtown life. Then there is another video about the university, and it can be another video about our summer programs or our summer festivals and things like that. These are produced free, with no expense from the village. And the way they make their money is by having sponsors, local sponsors, for that videos. So I thought it was a good idea. I can forward you, you read the agreement a little bit. I read your points, very good points. I'm going to forward everything to the trustees so they know some examples. But they are very good professional videos that I think it's a good idea to at least find out a little bit more about it. So that's one. The next one is that I had some conversations with two representatives from a company called Siemens. Siemens is, of course, out of Germany, but they have many local factories here. What they propose and what the meeting was about is general sustainability and moving from where we are to total, to much greener, much more sustainable community. And they are, they can have a plan involving street lights, traffic lights, the wastewater treatment plan, the new parking lots, reuse of landfill, and everything else that we can ask them for. At the same time, they were very excited, actually, to find out that I have this program with the high school where we have interns from the high school to our water plant and wastewater treatment plant to be exposed to that job. They do that as well, and they asked to be involved. I'm going to forward to you some of our communication. I asked them to send us something more specific, because this is not an agreement, this is only a very general proposal. But I thought that also was something that very much worth looking into that. And the last thing that I have to report is that next week, next Wednesday and Thursday, there is a meeting of mayors from all over the United States in Philadelphia regarding water sustainability and paying for higher water bills as we go forward. This is free of charge, so I am going to that conference. Is Wednesday evening and Thursday the whole day. Now, we have been working with Nate, thinking of applying again for the DRI from the state, which is the $10 million. help from the state. And I thought it was a good idea, it would be a good idea to have Nate here explain what we did up to now and pretty much where we're going and how.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. As the mayor said, I'm just here to provide a brief informal update and bring you up to speed, answer any questions on the number of ongoing grants that have, as Dan well knows, as the mayor well knows, as you all know, a lot of moving parts. And really they ebb and flow from, not hearing anything for a month, waiting on pieces, to all of a sudden we need several deliverables at once. So start with a brief breakdown on all the grants that I'm at least supporting the village with. So starting with the Barker Common Improvement Project. Long time coming. It's finally some good news. Patience pays off in that we finally submitted everything we need for execution of the contract to the state after several delays, actually mostly on their part with some changing administrators with the Office of Parks and Historic Preservation. But we have submitted preservation covenant and contracts signed by both the town of Pomfret, which is, according to their council, the official owner of the park, as well as the village of Fredonia, which is the project sponsor in this case. So just some next steps. Dan Gard, attorney, will be reviewing a contract with the firm selected for design services. This firm was approved by you back in January, so we'll be officially entering into that contract as soon as we have Dan review that, and as well as a fully executed contract back from the state. And then we'll be working with them and insurance requirements, etc., with Rick to get them up and going, hopefully June and July, to do the design phase. And you all should have a copy of their scope of services from January. If you'd like another copy, I surely can provide that for you. But the scope of services, we spent a lot of time and attention making sure that project, that phase of the overall project is reflective of what the community, what the village wants and needs in that space. So we made sure that there'll be some public engagement, at least one public meeting, one walking tour, and a round of conceptual plans that are refined and then finalized and approval by this board as to the final design. So that will be coming more into focus this summer. Next, as you're all well aware, we have the New York Main Street Anchor Project, and just because we have 2 New York Main Street grants open now, I want to differentiate the difference so it's clear to everybody. The Anchor Project is the $450,000 grant awarded to the village in December of last year, and the village basically acts as a pass-through entity to administer those funds to 50 West Main, and that's Venture Productions and Ted Sharon, who's undergoing over $1 million project to renovate the back portion of the former Card Seat building. So just to bring you up to speed, next steps would be awarding a bid for grant administration services, hopefully next Monday. Dan and I will have, and the mayor as well, conversations with the respondent to a request for qualifications to review the contract and get it to you in next Monday's board packet. So stay tuned for that. Also,
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday, correct.
Tuesday.
Monday's a holiday.
Yes. And then, so that will require a resolution. Again, this is compared to other state grants. For example, Barker Common is a 10-year contract period. This is rather expeditious. It's only 2 years, and we're already a few months into that, so we really need to act fast so we don't waste any time in getting the grant administrator on board, as well as we'll also be issuing a request for proposals for environmental and architectural services, hopefully in the next, hopefully sometime in June. And again, that will be open for a certain period of time, and hopefully there will be a consultant board early summer, July. Then, as the mayor informed the board last Monday, right before the meeting, the village was informed that they were recipients of New York Main Street Technical Assistance Grant. So not to be confused with the New York Main Street Anchor Project. So as you know, the Technical Assistance Project will be a $21,000 process in which we'll be working with Labella Associates, to architecture and engineering firm, to work with downtown building owners within a designated target area designated by this board earlier this year. Basically to go through the process necessary in planning for a future facade improvement program. So there'll be an application process in which interested building owners can apply to the village for consideration in this technical assistance portion, which will go design and cost estimations for facade improvements. And we're shooting for this to be done, obviously, summer and fall in preparation for a much larger implementation project through the New York Main Street's target area program. And again, that's no cost to the village. The implementation project, the state would fund up to 75% of the building owner's improvements, with 25% being
By the owners.
yes. And then finally, we move on to, as the mayor mentioned, Downtown Revitalization Initiative and Western New York Smart Growth Community Fund. I believe you've all been, you're familiar with the program itself, as well as the village's 2017 submission. So we'll be updating that submission from last year, adding a greater level of detail, just overall improvements to the proposal. The state, again, awards one $10 million winner per region, and special to Western New York only, there's an additional $10 million this year through what's called the Western New York Smart Growth Community Fund. And we're not sure how that money will be awarded in 2018, but last year there were 4 $2.5 million awards, City of Dunkirk being one of them. So we're really hoping to get a good mix of projects, both public and private, in this year's proposal. And again, just show our strengths and opportunities downtown, and hopes we can be competitive for some of that funding. So the mayor and I are in the middle of reviewing last year's application, improving the projects, adding more detail, clarity to the projects, additional outreach to some of the private business owners, building owners, developers on projects they might have, as well as adding additional clarity and details to some of the public projects, such as Village Hall and the Opera House, the West Municipal Parking Lot, streetscapes, and others. So we'll be sharing that with you probably in advance of next Tuesday's meeting, but feel free to get in touch with me with any questions, suggestions, or otherwise. Any other questions on grants in general, or the DRI and Smart Growth proposal?
Just, yeah, please.
You know, like you said, it's kind of a wait and see, and everything comes all of a sudden here. But if you could keep us up to date and carbon copy this board on your communication with the mayor, it'd be helpful to know what's going on before, a week before we have to do something. I think
Sure.
the rest of the board. I don't know if the rest of the board has been privy to any of this, but I think being up to date with everybody on the same page would be a really good.
Right, and I think that's just better coordination among the mayor, the board, myself, Dan, Rick, and making sure everyone's on the same page going forward. So there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of details, and in many cases, a real fast turnaround on what's needed administration-wise for these grants. So.
And we only started this review in the last week, really, 10 days, because we thought we were going to start earlier, and then other things happened, and we were never able to start earlier. But pretty much the board knows about the last year's proposal. We're staying in that. Obviously, Ted's project is not going to be there anymore, so we're moving some other projects further up, but we're staying with the same projects pretty much. We're just trying to put to a little more details and being in communication with the developers so they can give us an idea as to how much money they need and to where this project is going and how long it's going to take, and if they produce any kind of jobs and what kind of jobs are going to be produced and all that. Pretty much this is what we're trying to accomplish, and it's been challenging.
The other thing, Nate, other than the Ted Share New York Main Street Anchor Grant, which the grant pays for a grant administrator, how are we administering effectively and efficiently the other grants here? Because I know each grant, you need to do all the paperwork correctly, and all the I's need to be dotted and T's need to be crossed here. So, I mean, one little mess up here could, make the difference between getting fully refunded on a grant here and not. So, what is the plan on grant administration?
Usually the grants, and correct me if I'm wrong, the grants have an administrative portion in it, which means that there is an amount in the grant that is specifically for administrative cost.
So that means we are hiring an administrator
For
these
both
grants?
the New York Main Street grants, there will be grant administrators.
Okay.
Nate and I were working on that again today. We are having a conference call tomorrow with the lady from Lavella to work out the nuts and bolts logistics of, because there is a quick turnaround and we don't have, there's not a lot of time. Like you say, you don't want to make that mistake. So we're going to be putting together the nuts and bolts of how it's actually going to be done in the village. And we're going to be getting a better idea of that tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Thanks,
Well,
Nate.
Sure.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe you can share a little bit more as to what we can do to be more ready. Because if you remember last year, the explanation that why we didn't get the $2.5 million or the $4 that we asked for was that we were not ready to use the money. And I always have this, I'm not exactly sure what this means, except the administrator, but what else?
So there's really 9 basic questions in the DRI proposal, which is the exact same for the smart growth proposal. That's how it's evaluated too. 2 of the questions we got feedback on from the state last year is we weren't quite there was number 1, readiness. And that includes everything from existing plans, past investments, future investment potential, especially from the private sector, and just a general strategic set of priorities for downtown projects, both public and private. And then obviously the second one, which we've been trying to improve for the last year or so, but we still admittedly need to focus on, is administrative capacity. And that's just the several moving parts that we've just been discussing, and the ability to meet state deadlines and move these projects faster than we currently can. So we do check, these of course are my own opinions, but analyzing other applicants within the Western New York region for the DRI and smart growth. It's my own opinion, but I think Fredonia is right up there in the communities that have not yet been funded through either DRI or smart growth. I have some different hunches on who the 2018 winners will be, but I think it's absolutely worth submitting a strong proposal to this. For example, the village of Guando, which is much smaller than Fredonia population-wise. They've had some more extensive planning. They have a brownfield opportunity area. They've some more grassroots organization as compared to Fredonia, but they were awarded $2.5 million last year. So I think we do have some challenges. We don't check some boxes as compared to our competition across the region, but We also do have a lot of opportunities as compared to some other communities. We have Fredonia State. We have, a really intact historic downtown that could use some improvements, but we have, some other opportunities for both public and private investment to leverage our geographical and other assets. So, did that answer your question?
Thank you. Anything else for Nate? Okay. And that's all for me. Rick, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. The trustees, any of the trustees have anything to report? Dr. Varis?
No.
Karen? Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on one thing. As on a quest for, to find a proper facility for our village police department, we're looking at a way to alternative financing, because there's not a lot for grants for us, and we need to look at different ways to finance or fund a facility. So I've done a lot of research, and I found the opportunity in a way of a tax increment financing. And with that, I contacted the controller's office with Tom Carpenter. He referred me to Lynn Marinelli with the Empire State Development, who referred me to Christine Morbido with the county, who then referred me to other parts of the county, and we're going to meet with Mark Geis. And,
Lots of referrals.
A lot of referrals, but I'm trying to get exact details with New York State on how the program works and how it can work for Fredonia. It is a good opportunity not only for the ability to fund a police department using taxes that are generated from a new district that would be put under the tax increment financing program. But it could bring not only take care of the ability to finance the police department, but also bring, like I said, new development for our community, which would then eventually bring overall revenues to the county and the community. As I move forward, I will bring more information forward.
So you keep looking into it.
So we're going to
and
keep looking into it.
explain.
Yeah, we're actually going
Okay.
with the committee for the police department. We're going to have a meeting again soon, and try to address even any other alternative financing in addition to that. So we'll move that forward soon.
And you are still planning of putting a financing committee together,
Correct.
subcommittee?
A subcommittee.
Hey, Jim, when you talk to Mark Geis, see if the county has ever found out whatever happened to the
I
dog?
did.
Oh,
He's going to talk again.
oh, I take it it's not good. We didn't
Well,
get it.
no, it's not bad, but he's going to, Mark Geis is going to look into it, into all the possibilities. It was not bad, but just, thank you.
Okay.
Roger?
Our sample light bulbs should be in this week, so I'll be getting those
Okay.
over to Perry.
Okay, very
So,
good.
on a lighter note.
All right, that's good.
That's it.
That's it for me, that's all I got this week.
Okay.
Doug?
I got a bunch of different things. I'll make it real quick here. Meeting procedures, I think in the future, we need to do some tweaking on that because when the agenda came out here, it was kind of confusing. So I still think we need to.
I don't know why, because I talked to Lori the next day, and the only thing she told me that she was confused about was why we didn't call for a public hearing. And I talked to you, I asked you then, why did we not ask, call for a public hearing for the two new laws with a separate resolution? It's, that was, at least that's what she said, it was the confusion about.
Okay. Kind of went over the grant administrator earlier. Are we still pursuing deputy mayor, acting mayor? It was on last week's
Yeah.
agenda.
That's,
Um,
Doug, that's on me, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Just last week got very
That's why we
busy.
pulled it off last week, because Dan
Okay.
was working on it. Okay.
Not forgotten.
Not a problem. It's, I don't know if it was in the paper here, the front of the house at the college was talking about tearing it, ripping down the house here because it's going to cost too much to refurbish it, which I think is a terrible thing. It's not on the National Historic Register, I don't believe, but it's a historic house that has a lot of history in our community, and I'd hate to see it get ripped down. And if there's anything the village can do to.
I talked to the financial person and the Kevin Kearns from the university quite a few times about it. And the amount of money they need to bring it up to state standards is really over $1 million, which is really a very large amount. Now, I asked them, and they are looking into if they have the possibility to lease it, to sell it, to donate it to a business, to a non-for-profit, to a profit, to anything that can fix it a little bit and maybe, make a little museum or a little coffee shop or a shop, gift shop. At the same time, I have to say that I understand that burden. If they need to spend over $1 million to fix it, and obviously they don't have the money, they already, you saw the budget. I do understand that as well. So one of them is going to come to one of our meetings, and maybe people, if they want to come and have questions, they will be more than happy to answer.
So, if they could sell it without having to put that money into it, and I kind of heard that, in order to sell it, they have to bring it up to code, which I don't understand to sell it, but,
that's then redundant.
I just can't see just tearing stuff down.
If they need to spend the money to sell it, that's, so I don't know. They told me that they looked into all the possibilities. I know it is not something that they enjoy. At the same time, it is on their property.
This is a problem when the college buys houses and uses them, and then this kind of thing happens here. It's pretty sad.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to buy a house for a couple $1 million with the college or
Right in the college.
What could they possibly, $1 million to rehab it?
How did
I
it
think
get
for $1
to
million,
that?
you can tear it down and build a replica.
That's the question. How did it get so bad?
Right, how did it
What, for years and years and years, why was nothing done?
Well, some things were
maintain
done.
it.
I think they were never able to fix it the way it was supposed to be fixed. And now it's actually dangerous for their employees to be in there and working. That's why they moved everything out. And in order from the state to get the permission from the state to put back people in that building, they have to bring it up to code. And that's, if I'm not mistaken, is $1.2 million. That's, all right.
A couple other things. I see the profits are here. I did have in the agenda, and I had it, Rick pulled it out because I kind of discussed it with him earlier today, but since you're here, I'll discuss it here. There was a residence in the town of Pomfret that had high levels of the residue or whatever from the sanitation process of our water. That's out in the town. I'm not sure if they're required to take care of that, but in our project coming up here that we're doing at our water treatment plant, it should alleviate that. Just so everybody knows, our water is tested every quarter in the village, and it's all been tested within reasonable amounts of, under the levels of
How do we do
It's
that?
actually tested weekly.
weekly. Okay,
Yes, we
weekly.
test it
But
weekly.
I guess every quadrant is tested. So our water is safe. Also, a while back, the Prophets had tested their house with some high lead levels. I know your area is due to be replaced with the water mains. I know at the school, when we had high lead levels, it was due to some of the fixtures and so forth and so on. So whichever way it turns out, I hope that, your levels are getting within reach now, or I don't know if you've had any different testing done, but.
you know, we haven't been able to get any other testing. And to be clear, it's not just our house. The loose house next door was also tested by a private, ours was tested by the state, his was tested by a private firm. They both came back with high
Do we
levels
ever
of lead.
put on the website the lead testing?
I still don't understand why somebody hasn't come back to at least retest our house or Paul's house, either one, since we've had that issue.
Where are we in terms of that whole, of the,
We're not testing that high in the
No,
system itself.
no, the system, that's what I'm trying to say, the system
The
is,
system
we're
itself
within
isn't testing
limits.
those
I'm just wondering
levels.
where we are in terms of that whole section of the village was, we were changing,
Everything's going
replacing all
to be
the.
replaced.
Right, when,
Your
how are,
street,
how
all
are, where
the
are
roads
we in
gonna
that
be
process?
replaced,
The
yes.
survey and mapping is being done right now.
Okay,
So that's where
So
it is.
we are progressing with that. And tonight, I think we have the resolution to pass it. right?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Correct.
we're going to approve the money tonight and take it from there.
One other quick thing, Roger and I went to a municipal law seminar, and they had some really good things here, and I made a couple of handouts for everybody in regards to some grants, SAM grants, and the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grants.
The water infrastructure improvement is the one that we're using right now.
Yep, so there was some good information on that, and just want to pass that on.
I got these at the meeting. I got those at this one.
Yeah, I know. Here. And during the seminar, they also touched on social media. Now, I know today we must have had a water main break on
We did, yes.
Central Avenue
Central
at
and
Day
Day,
Street.
Yeah. It's all done.
There was a while, I think this last week, some reports of, somebody's thought there was a water main break on Main Street when somebody was draining their pool, and stuff started getting put on social media. This village will alert our residents through our website and New York Alert when those things happen, and it requires, boil water orders and stuff of that nature. So unfortunately, with social media here, things seem to go awry pretty quickly when there's nothing going on. So we are working on the social media policy, and that should be coming up here shortly. Done, thank you.
All right. So let's go with old business. We have a new local law regarding alcohol on village property. And maybe Carrie, you can give us like an outlook.
Well, we talked about it last week.
And,
I mean, I don't know.
okay, so everybody,
What, is there anything else anybody wants to
you're fine?
add?
We didn't have to open this up to the public?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we need
Well,
public
that's what I'm
hearing.
saying, yeah.
No, this is just for you.
Yeah, okay.
We need a public hearing,
Yeah, all right.
obviously, yes, yes.
Just want to make sure we had the base covered.
No,
Yeah.
we need a public hearing.
I know trustee Barris had some questions about the wording of it. It's
Okay.
been redone,
I was unhappy with the first paragraph.
okay. But I think that was changed.
We took it out.
We
Okay.
just took it out.
We just took it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just for clarification, what we do is when we get to the, the special meeting portion of tonight, we would introduce it, okay, and then it has to be tabled for a public hearing.
Right.
The next meeting, because we're doing a shorter meeting, we only have a week, that's not enough time. So it looks like the next, unless you guys want to call a special meeting for the public hearing and the vote, it's going to be at the June 11th meeting.
I think that's fine. I mean, whatever the board thinks, but are you okay with that?
I think so.
I mean, it was the Italian festival.
Yeah, this is a pretty big deal, and I think the more time the better,
Yes.
so.
And because I was thinking about the Italian festival, but they moved it in July now, so we are fine with that as well.
So there are no festivals in June that we have to worry about whatsoever?
Well, there's the Chamber of Commerce is planning their Wednesday in the park, but that will be the last Wednesday in June.
So we're going to be
So I
okay.
think it'll be okay.
Should be okay.
I think so.
That's going to be pretty tight. I mean, just because it can't be effective until it's out of the state.
Right.
So it's going to be pretty tight. They usually say allow about 20 days after
So do you think we should call a special meeting, or?
I have no problem with it being on the 11th, we just need to keep a realistic timeline going forward after that. I mean, it's not law until it's filed with state, following the public hearing and the vote.
I mean, it's up to you.
So as long as they move the Italian festival, that's what we were trying to get, you know. we were
Yeah,
trying
the
to get
Italian
that.
festival is in July now,
We
so
should be-
that's.
Should be enough time.
Oh, absolutely. Should be
Yeah.
enough time for July.
Okay.
We'll just have to, I guess, maybe just skip the first one, do the other two.
If it's done, then good. If not-
Right, I'd rather get it done and do it well and do it properly and do it thoughtfully than rush something.
It's the timeframe between the 11th and their event.
Right, it's
that we
like
need to have the
13,
state
15
approval.
days or
Yeah, but
something.
you don't know, the state may turn it around in a week, they may turn it around in 2
Right.
weeks, right? Yeah, so you don't know, so.
But when we call a public hearing, we call a public hearing tonight, and we can't change that.
Right.
That's going to be the public hearing, okay. Right, so,
Yeah.
and then we have a new local law regarding the food trucks on village property, and maybe Roger, as part of the, of my committee, you want, and of
Yeah.
course Chuck is here, who is our
Yeah, I
main-
think we hammered out a pretty good law here. I think we spent a lot of good quality time working on it. A lot of good points were brought out during our meetings. Again, this is probably another one we need to throw out to the public, right, before we.
Same thing.
Yeah,
We're gonna-
so again,
gonna have
Table
the
on
same
the
thing.
11th for the public hearing.
I've had a couple of phone calls from a couple of residents and one business owner regarding this, and really their questions were more about specific locations of the truck, and I kind of read it to them.
So we try to cover all of this.
Right.
They can be closer than 100 foot from an existing restaurant. They have to register with the village, and the registration fee is $500, so it's quite steep, because we understand that our local businesses and restaurant owners obviously pay taxes, so that's to help that. At the same time, if they wish, restaurant owners here to have a food truck, that's, they don't have to pay the $500 registration
Waiving the
fee.
fee.
We're waiving the
So
fee.
with the $500, like, is that for a year?
For a year,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
That covers pretty much the entire year,
Yes.
you know.
It starts end of March, beginning of,
Yeah.
yes. So it's from April 1st to March 31st, and covers as many events as they would like. Correct?
Yep, yeah, expires the end of March, and it has to be renewed April 1st.
And at the same time, they have to they have to have a background check, and they have to have the
Yeah.
license
The
from
county-
Chautauqua
county
County
food.
Health Department and all.
Is that, I'm just out of curiosity, is that like an average fee, like for what other communities?
It's actually lower. I mean, if you
Okay,
take-
that's, yeah, just out of curiosity.
It's actually a little lower. I mean, we don't want to discourage them from
Right.
coming. But again, you know, there's some administrative costs that we have to cover and
Sure.
things like that. So we felt that was fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a fair, and if you average it out by the number of weeks that they can come and go throughout the year,
Mm-hmm.
It's not that much.
yeah, it really isn't that much. So, just, yeah, food for thought.
I mean,
And again-
if you think the kind of population that we have students here
Mm-hmm.
who are always in need of nourishment and of different kinds. So we have visitors, who have the parents, who have tourists. So we really have very diverse population that can absorb and can cater to quite a few.
Just something else we needed to put on the books. I mean, a lot of communities already have them in place.
Right.
We're just a little behind,
Sure,
and we just felt that this was the right time for us to, you know, put something on our books.
yeah, I agree.
All right, very good. And trolley policy.
Can I follow under the same thing if we have to make it or not? It's not making it part of a code or a local law or
Yeah, I
anything?
wouldn't say the trolley policy would be a local law, it would be just more of an administrative,
Policy?
yeah.
Okay. That's not ready for this meeting, any?
And I just had a suggestion, because the trolley is really going to be under the purview of the Parks and Rec, right?
Mhm.
Could we share that, the thing that you wrote up with the Parks and Rec, the committee, the volunteers who are on the committee, just to kind of look it over and maybe give some feedback or suggestions, or,
Sure.
I don't know when they
And-
meet next, what, about 2 weeks, Tom?
Now, the committee for the trolley was you and Kara, if I'm not mistaken. then
And when
you-
we had that meeting, I was the only one that
Right, I wasn't able to
volunteered.
go because I was sick.
So
So
wasn't it?
Roger volunteered to help me out on that. Myself, Roger, Tom, and Todd Langworthy, who
No,
is also handling it
I
right now.
understand. The thing is that you can't be 3 trustees in that committee. That's,
Oh, no, I was just
That's-
covering, just
okay,
covering for you. to get
that's
the
fine.
information.
Okay.
So Kara's, she's on the committee.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I just thought I'd like to share it with the Parks and Rec, the volunteers, the committee,
Well, actually, the committee, you appointed me that meeting. I mean, I said,
Right.
we needed somebody to do it. And you go, well, you're volunteering to do
Right.
it. And I said, I will do it.
yes.
So,
But
I mean,
yeah.
you're on the part, yes. I mean,
There
but the
was a
committee for the
committee.
trolley.
there was a committee for trolley and parks in my paper, trolley parks.
Okay.
That said, but if Kara wants to do the trolley, to
Yeah,
give you the
that's
trolley,
fine.
I will
have no
I will forward
problem.
you all the information.
no, that's fine, that's cool, that's great.
Whatsoever.
I just have
That works.
one more question.
I have people who are interested in driving it.
I was gonna say, now wait a minute, because I was assigned driver volunteer duty.
Should I send their names to
So,
you?
yes, I need a list
Okay.
of names.
I got
so-
2
And I was gonna
people.
put in a plug tonight to see
Okay.
what we do.
I know
We've
2
got
people
2
who
so
said they're
far.
interested. They don't have to have a special license, right?
Unless it's above a certain amount.
Right,
of
14
passengers.
people, right?
Passengers,
Okay,
But we are looking for passenger endorsed CDLs, so if someone has one, we could really use one.
okay.
So I didn't do it on purpose. I apologize. I
No,
will
yeah.
get it to you.
Sure.
But the process is moving forward, and it's,
Great.
we'll implement that
It's-
shortly,
it's
and there will be
pretty
no,
simple.
it'll be a kind of a bulletproof thing, and our village will have a policy that, things don't have to be questioned anymore, so.
Mm-hmm.
And this policy will be under Parks and Recreation run by Tom Battaglia, right? Because the committees will change over the years. The
Well, the
people
trolley was
represent-
only given to us last year.
Right.
That
So-
was.
But it
before
falls under
that
the
we didn't
purview
have
of the
a
Parks
trolley.
and Rec
But that's what,
department,
that's,
right?
right,
So
that's
Parks
what I
and
want to make
Recreation
sure that
Department
that's,
will
the
administer the
understanding,
policy.
understanding of the policy is that from this, that from now on, that's just where it's going to be under the Parks and Recreation.
I mean, you have to approve it, that
Well,
the board has
yeah.
to approve it, yeah.
As a policy, correct, but I guess that's.
I think that makes the most sense for it to be under Parks and
I'm just
Parks and
gonna
Rec
clarify,
department.
is all.
Tom says yes.
It's just what, going forward, as you have private entities running that, and they're trying to get out of it, and
Right.
they want to get it back to the village, so it has to be into some department.
Right.
But
Right.
before I'm making decisions, that there needed to be decisions made by the board in terms of what policies we're following before I decide, oh, okay, yeah, you can do that. No, it's not, it's the village equipment, it's the village trolley. Now we just have to go forward, okay, here's the rules, and then I can implement
Yeah,
rules.
and the policy is going to be approved by the board, so you know exactly where you're going.
Exactly, that's all I was looking about going forward. I want to know the rules that we have going forward,
And trustee
So
Estek will
everybody
be
knows.
specifically responsible for the
Yes.
trolley. Okay, Pat Demore, I mean, that was a big project of his. He took care of it for so many years, he collected money.
We owe him many thanks.
Oh, many, many thanks. And so I just want to take care of it the best we can. And it's an asset for the village anyways.
Is it in good shape? Does it need any work this year? Is it ready to go?
According to Todd,
Do we know?
I guess Todd and Pat were gonna get together and they were gonna drive it up from their storage unit in Dunkirk up to the village barn, and then they were gonna kind of walk through it. But apparently during the winterization last year, they really went through it before they put it away. That's what Todd kind of
I
mentioned.
mean, I don't think there's any major issues with it.
No,
Good.
they spent a lot of money on it.
In order to maintain it, I was looking at the costs associated, I see that there's some fees for historic tours and stuff, but I was wondering how you're going to plan on sustaining the vehicle. I see that there's no rental, you have no rental to other communities or organizations or groups. I just wonder what.
They're gonna do some advertising on the actual trolley. There's gonna be some revenue generated from the signs on the front and the back of the
Oh,
trolley.
that's a good
So
idea.
you're
And
gonna,
then along the top of the trolley, there's some slots up there that Todd talked about possibly selling some advertising
okay, so,
space up
so there has been thought of how to
And there was
create
some
revenue
excursions.
in order to,
Maintain
yeah, maintain it, because I was wondering, because all I see is the $5 per person for the one thing, and I don't see
They
another.
they had a
any
couple
other
of
revenue
excursions last year that did real well too. Todd was
Through
mentioning.
Is
the
that-
village, not
is-
another.
Is that organizations or groups, though? If it's excursions of a group, I mean,
It was
organization, it says
organized
no
by
rental.
the village.
Yeah, Jim, I think it's something that we just, if I want
No, go
to
ahead.
pop it, it's just that we don't want to get into a situation where, let's say, if you want to run it out to a person's, I mean, because the people have approached me, can I use it for a wedding? You know, it's something that you don't want to get into with that. There's excursions planned that is going to be operated, that the village operates it.
Mhm.
So now if there's a mechanical problem, if
Oh, I
there's an
see.
issue, okay, we apologize, we're sorry, here's your money back for that.
Okay.
If you start getting into running that to somebody's wedding,
Right,
that, and it breaks down that day, now you're talking lawsuits.
Right.
And so that's, I mean.
So that's-
for
that prevents-
Yeah,
1970s
like when you see the policy,
you
Jim,
know,
it kind of, it'll kind of.
that prevents it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
just a
it's-
quick question.
yeah.
Oh, that's good, that's good.
I think that's, I mean, I'm just barely getting into this with these guys myself, but it just, with a 1970s vehicle,
Right,
I really don't, just sit there, hey, let's go rent this out and,
Right.
try and
Gotcha.
make a quick $1,000. Ooh,
Yeah, no.
that's,
okay,
No.
thank you.
Maybe we should put a new ensign
No,
or
so you
something.
guys are working on it, so it's a nice job.
It'll be
All
pretty good
right,
idea.
very good. And then we have new business. One is the police department report for April 2018. We covered the grant administration of the Fenner House. Revenue ideas.
I was gonna bring some stuff up tonight, but I'd rather bring it up the following meeting if I could.
Sure.
please.
Yeah. Right, and then we review resolutions. We have the approval of New York Main Street Technical Assistance Project Grant Agreement, as we discussed before. We have a training request of Police Chief Myers to attend the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police Training Conference for $1,250. Have the approval of the Water Infrastructure Emergency Financial Assistance Agreement with New York State, what is it? Environmental Facility Corporation. Sorry about that. We have a training request of Michael Woodward to attend activated sludge wastewater treatment process for $1,415. Adoption of emergency plan. And finally, the approval, oh no, we don't have that. That is going to be scratched until the next time. All right, that's it. We have about 10 minutes.
How do I say this? What is this? That's action.
Wait.
It's actually
Nice.
What is that? It's time.
We're good.
That's right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting to order at a special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 21st day of May 2018 at 7:30 p.m. in the Trustees Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
We have one report tonight. It's the police report for the month of April. There were 146 parking tickets, 42 vehicle and traffic, 57 arrests, 11 accidents, Fredonia Central School calls for service 13, and incidents reported a total of 830. And that's it for reports.
Thank you. Have a public portion. Anybody from the public wants to say something, give us a comment, question? Don't have a lot of people. Nobody's saying anything, so we close the public hearing, the public portion. Go to resolutions.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia has applied for and been selected to receive New York Main Street funds to administer a local New York Main Street Technical Assistance Program, and whereas the terms of said grant require the village to enter into a New York Main Street Technical Assistance Project Grant Agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, and whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that this project will be beneficial to the Village of Fredonia, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to sign the New York Main Street Technical Assistance Project Grant Agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, as well as any and all documents required by said agreement.
I second that.
Trustee Barris.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes. Be it resolved, the training request of Police Chief Bradley Myers to attend the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police Training Conference in Glen Cove, New York, July 15th through the 18th, 2018 is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $1,250.
I second the resolution. I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes. Whereas Fredonia Village government must provide the leadership and direction to prevent, mitigate, and respond to emergencies and disasters, and whereas the New York State Executive Law, Article 2-B, Section 24, authorizes the village to prepare a disaster plan to enable it to deal effectively with potential disaster situations. Now, be it resolved that the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts the Emergency Operations Plan as presented by Fredonia Fire Chief Ryan Walker.
I'll second that.
Trustee Barris.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia has sought and been granted emergency financial assistance from the New York State Environmental Facility Corporation for the purpose of emergency water line replacement, and whereas the term of said financial requirement, the village to enter into a water infrastructure emergency financial assistance agreement with New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, and whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that said financing is immediately necessary to eliminate and substantially reduce the hazard to public safety created by the village's aging water line. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to sign the Water Infrastructure Emergency Financial Assistance Agreement with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation.
I second.
Trustee Barris.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the training request of Michael Woodward, operator trainee, wastewater treatment plant,
to attend the Advanced Sludge Wastewater Treatment Process in Morrisville, New York, from June 4th to the 7th, 2018, is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $1,415. This conference is supported by Morrisville State College.
I second that motion.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Local law amending Chapter 81 of the Code of the Village of Fredonia. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia has determined that the sale and consumption of alcohol beverages would enhance the attendance and enjoyment of certain public gatherings, and whereas the Board has determined that a limited sale and consumption of alcohol can be allowed without frustrating the purpose of this chapter, now therefore be it resolved that Chapter 81 of the Fredonia Village Code, entitled Alcoholic Beverages is hereby amended as follows. Add Section 81-7C Exceptions. The Board may, in its discretion and by resolution, suspend the provisions of this chapter in a designated area of the village for a designated public event. The Board shall approve or deny by resolution all applications for alcohol sales under this exception and shall by resolution determine the requirements of such applications. Is there a motion to table this resolution for a public hearing on June 11th at Village Hall?
I'd like to table this.
Anybody?
I'll second.
You
Second that
second.
motion.
Okay. Trustee Barris.
I abstain.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Okay, so we table this.
Local law adding Chapter 197 to the Code of the Village of Fredonia. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia has determined that it is in interest of the public safety to regulate mobile food vehicles within the village. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Chapter 197, entitled Mobile Food Vehicle, is hereby added to the Fredonia Village Code as follows. Add Chapter 197, Mobile Food Vehicles. 197-1, Legislative Intent. Due to the increasing prevalence of mobile food vehicles within the Village of Fredonia, the Board of Trustees has determined that it is in the interest of public safety to regulate the operation of such vehicles. 197-2, Definition. A. Mobile food vehicle, a commercial manufactured self-contained mobilized mobile food unit in which ready-to-eat food is cooked, wrapped, packaged, processed, and sold, including tow-behind trailers of any size. 197-3, Licensing. It shall be unlawful to operate a mobile food vehicle within the geographical limits of the Village of Fredonia without having first obtained license from the village. 197-4, Application Requirements. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia shall adopt by resolution requirements for obtaining a license to operate a mobile food vehicle. 197-5, Fees. The Board shall determine by resolution the fee for a license to operate a mobile food vehicle. 197-6, Restrictions. The Board shall determine by resolution such restrictions on the operation of mobile food vehicles which is reasonably believed are necessary to protect the public safety and the interest of other food retailers within our village. 197-7, Appeals. Any applicant having been denied a license to operate a mobile food vehicle may appeal said decision to the Board of Trustees, who will then grant or deny such appeal. 197-8, Violations. Each violation of this chapter shall be punishable by a fine not exceeding $250 for the first offense and by imprisonment for a period of time not to exceed 15 days, or by both such fine and imprisonment. Such violation may also serve as grounds to revoke a license issued pursuant to this chapter, as well as the denial of future licensing. 197-9, Servability. If a provision of this chapter, including exception, part, phase, or term of any applicant, therefore, to any person or circumstance, is held invalid, the application to other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby, and the validity of this chapter in any and all other aspects shall not be affected thereby.
We
This-
have a motion to
Quick-
table.
Quick, it was $250 for each offense, just to make sure it was clear.
Okay,
Not
not to exceed
just
two,
the first, not just the first.
for each offense, or by imprisonment for a period of time not to exceed 15 days, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
This local law shall take in effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State of the State of New York.
Do we have to table this law for
I'll
public
make a-
hearing?
I'll make a motion to table to June 11th for public hearing and then the resolution after.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Yes.
Trustee Barris.
I vote aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
I also have to say that in the previous law, I thought we took out the first paragraph, but I just saw it here.
We did the revised,
Yeah, it's different than the original.
made the agenda instead of the revised version.
Okay, so it's going to be,
This portion.
the actual one is going to not include the first paragraph and start from the second one.
This first paragraph was deleted? Okay.
I thought this was different than the original one.
The first paragraph is different.
I thought this was different than the original.
No, it's the
We just
same.
cut the first paragraph, it was just an intent statement, we didn't need it.
Right, it's not in this particular one. Right?
No, this was the first paragraph.
I thought it was different. The original one that was originally sent out, I thought was different than this one.
No, that's
This
the
is
original
the-
one.
Okay, so
That
we'll
paragraph-
just
the
make
paragraph-
sure
The
that,
first paragraph that you read, it's not particularly important. one.
okay,
That's all.
okay.
All right? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
A second?
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Christina.
Yes.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming.
Quickly than it's gonna be.